in order to win, somebody has to lose. If you're going to turn your prospects into loyal clients, you have to get really good at getting them to see why they need to fire their current agent and hire you. This might seem, relatively elementary, but it really is the difference between those who succeed at sales and those who have to find a different type of business to be in because they can't make it. You have to talk them into it somehow, get the prospect to realize that their current agent is not the right agent and that you would be a better agent for them. Until you can do that, you will be bankrupt. You will starve. You will not get new clients. You have to somehow get the prospect to realize, if I can put it so boldly, you have to get them to think and understand that their current agent is a bum. Is that hard? Yep. Is it difficult? Nope. Can it be done? That's what we're going to talk about on today's podcast episode. Stay tuned. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast. My name is Charles Specht. Thank you for being with us here today. And we're talking about beach bums. Beach bums. You know, beach bum. I don't know. We don't really talk about beach bums anymore, especially if you don't live by the ocean. But a beach bum is basically somebody who just hangs out and just sort of lives on the beach. They're just sort of walking around the beach aimlessly, and they really don't provide any value. They don't really have an address, a home. They're just sort of bums, but they hang out on the beach. They are beach bums, providing no value, just sort of living off the land. Well, a lot of times insurance agents, not you because you're a classy type of person, not you because you are a major few steps up, not you, but maybe other insurance agencies in your town. They are simply just coasting. They have clients, but they're providing no real value. They might be on a really nice account, but they're probably not the right agent for it. They place the policy, but there's really no service that's attached to it. They're not really doing much on the renewal. They're just kind of putting together accord apps and loss runs, and that's about it. So those types of people might not be a beach bum, but maybe they are a client bum. They are an insurance agent bum. They are somebody that's really just sort of living off the insured, but providing no real benefit to society, and in this instance, the insured. How, my friends, can you get your prospects to realize that their current agent is not doing the right stuff, not providing anything, is sort of an insurance bum? Because unless you can paint a picture for them, get them to feel the pain, and then put your thumb into the wound to help them feel the pain even more, unless you can really paint a picture that their insurance agent has not provided value, has no differentiation, isn't really doing much for them. If you can't do that, it's unlikely they're going to make a switch to you. Most people don't switch for really sort of a horizontal switch. And if we can't paint a picture on why things are bad with their current agent, then they're probably not going to move to you because they don't know you. You don't have a relationship with them. They don't really have any track record with you. And so it's unlikely they're going to make that switch. They might figure my agent's already okay. My agent's doing a decent job, I guess. And why would I want to move to this agent over here, which is you? Why would I want to move to you if I don't really see any major differences in what my current agent does and provides versus what you do and provide? And that, my friends, is the issue. You are Mr., Mrs. Irrelevant as far as it's concerned to the insurance buyers. If you don't have anything particularly special, unique, then you need to show differentiation in your process, in the type of service that you provide, your renegotiation strategy, things like that. You might not have workers' compensation claims managers on staff, and I would say you don't need them. If you can create a better process, a better strategy, a better renewal strategy for the insured so that they can see how it will help them and benefit them. If you can create that solution, put it up against the backdrop of their current agent and the type of result they've received up to this point, then you're probably going to be in a very good position in order to win the business. Now, we're going to kind of work through some of this so that you can sort of see how it works and maybe about how you might be able to overcome this with some of your prospects. Let's assume for a moment that you've set an appointment with a prospect and now you're going to meet with him or her, might be on a Zoom call. I would say don't do this via email. Don't do it just via telephone, Zoom call, or best face-to-face. And now you're going to meet with them. And what are you going to say? Isn't this strange, my friends? The loyal listeners of Permission Nation, you are awesome. Isn't this weird, my friends, that insurance agents will spend so much time prospecting, leaving messages, sending emails, hours, prospecting, set an appointment, and then have the sheer audacity to just show up to the appointment and wing it. Pure amateur hour at its finest. Listen, this is your career. You're trying to earn a living to be able to put food on the table for your family. Your children do not need you to wing it. They need you to really kind of like get very particular, strategic about this whole process. So when you set an appointment with a prospect, what are you going to say? What's the first question that comes out of your mouth? What's the first topic that you bring up? Haven't thought about it? That just shows me amateur hour. That shows me that you haven't really thought through this yet. You're not quite a professional as far as, this particular insured is concerned. If you don't know how you're going to drive the conversation, if you don't know where you're trying to lead the conversation, then I would say, let's step it up. Let's step it up. You should be able to step it up. You should be able to help the insured to see why you're the better option for them. Now, before I even go any further, let me just sort of highlight that last point a little bit. You're the best option for them. You don't have to be the best insurance agent on planet Earth. You don't have to be the best insurance agent in the state. You don't even have to be the best insurance agent at your agency. You don't even have to be the best insurance agent at your agency inside the micro niche that you're going after. All you have to be, my friends, is the best choice out of who they currently have and maybe one other agent. So you just have to be the better choice out of who they currently have or one other agent that they might get quotes from, and that's it. You just have to be probably the best out of one other, maybe two, and that's it. That means that there's a real good opportunity here for you to win if you can be strategic and not just wing it, not just throw mud against the wall to see what sticks. Right? That's chicken business. We don't want to wing it. So how can you do this? How can you help the insured to see their agent's a bum? Well, I will tell you this. I say it very often. You've probably heard me say it before. My clients do. I can tell you that much, is that it will never come across well if you are putting down your competition. Do not do that, my friends. Not only is it sort of like just bad ethics, but it just smells bad. It just stinks. You stink if you do that. And so I don't want you to stink. I want you to smell good, in front of your prospects. Don't do that. It doesn't look good. It doesn't sound good. And what it also does is it kind of puts up a defensive wall with your prospect, where if you're sort of like putting them down, now you're kind of like putting down their decision that they made to go with that agent in the first place. If you're making that agent, sound, and, if you're saying bad things about them, you're kind of saying bad things about the insured. This is true. This is legit. So you don't want to do that. It is not your job to say, I think your agent's a bum. What you have to do is you have to word your open-ended questions in such a way, when you're trying to draw out this pain, you have to word your questions in such a way that the insured answers it themselves, and then they start to think, my agent's kind of a bum. And if you can get them to do that, you're going to be in a very, very good position. So how would you do that? Well, the way that I have seen this work best is that you start off by putting your sort of cookies right on the table. You open up the process to them, let them see. You're not hiding anything. You're not asking them, how does your current agent do it? Don't do it that way. What you need to do is sort of highlight right up front your superior service and how you do certain things. You then explain what the trophy is, or the expected result, the reward of you doing it this way for your clients. Then you ask them with the expectation that their current insurance agent is doing it. You're sort of secretly hoping they don't, but you ask it in such a way that you are assuming that the current insurance agent is doing it, because this would be normal for something for insurance agents to do. And then you ask them, when your current insurance agent does this same thing, what's been the result they've been able to get for you? Because you're hoping then, as you start to go through some of these problems, the insurer is going to be like, my agent doesn't do that. They've never done that for me. And then as you're just kind of like nodding and just like, that's okay. All right. The insured now is starting to realize, I think my agent's a bum. And so there's a lot of different ways to do this. And I'm just going to give you maybe a couple of examples so that you can kind of see how it can be done. And it can be done on employee health benefits. It can be done on P&C. As you know, I focus specifically on commercial insurance. I'm a PNC person at heart, so most of my illustrations are PNC, so deal with it. Here we go with another one. So here's workers' compensation. Typically, when you include an injury and illness prevention program, my friends, when you include a copy of the insured's injury and illness prevention program, you can very often get additional credits off the rate from these carriers. They can't just give you free credits if they can't substantiate it, because they can get in trouble if they give you credit for something, but they didn't give somebody else credit for it down the street. Might refer to that as sort of redlining. They can't do that. They can't discriminate upon that. And so they have to be able to substantiate their file to their boss, certainly in the event there's ever a claim. So many of the times they can't give that credit unless it's actually included in the submission. And it might be 3%, 5%. I mean, think about it, 5%, decrease in the overall rate because you offer an injury and illness prevention program. That's a lot of money. Could be a lot. Instead of $100,000 of premiums, $95,000. Can that help you win more accounts? Absolutely, it can. So just this simple thing, a copy of an injury and illness prevention program. Okay, let's just use that. So as you're talking to an insurance buyer, you're talking to them about their upcoming workers' compensation, renewal, and you're kind of like trying to help them to see that you should be the one to represent them with the current carrier and the other carriers. You're kind of going for the jugular, the broker of record letter, right? So you might start talking to them first about your superior service as far as the submission is concerned on what you show to the underwriters. Okay? Here's maybe how it would sound. Bob, one of the things that we do when we put together your submission to the insurance carriers is that we make sure that it is a full and complete submission. A lot of the insurance carriers out there will accept a submission if it's just kind of like the basics and loss runs, and they might give a quote. It's just not a very good quote. And so we want to make sure that we sort of accurately represent you in the insurance marketplace as a very beautiful Ferrari and not kind of like a used Buick. So we put together the best submission possible in order to drive down the costs. Well, one of the things, since we really kind of focus on your industry, which is painting subcontractors, we know that the insurance carriers many times will offer an additional 3 to maybe 5% decrease in the rate if we can include what's called a copy of your injury and illness prevention program. Now, when you give us a copy of your injury and illness prevention program, we're going to highlight that, explain it, and add it into our submission. If you don't currently have one, we will help create one on your behalf that you can begin utilizing in your company, and then we can include that in our submission. Because we know that our clients then are typically spending anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe even 7% less for that same carrier than most of the other accounts out there in the entire state are with that carrier, because most agents don't realize this. And so we include a copy of the injury and illness prevention program in our submission to all the carriers so that when we get the quotes from the carriers, ours are always going to be anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe 7% less expensive. That's just one example of the things that we do in regards to the submission. So I have a question for you, and I don't know really the answer, but have you ever given a copy of your injury and illness prevention program to your current agent, or have they ever asked you for a copy of your injury and illness prevention program? See what I did there? I'm creating doubt in the insured's mind that, their agent might be a bum. But I'm not saying your agent's a bum. I'm not saying, you know what, I kind of get the feeling that your insurance agent's not doing this, and that means like they're not a very good insurance agent. You should probably switch the business for them right now. I'm definitely not going that route. I'm going the route where I feel is much more upfront integrity. I'm explaining my superior service right up front, and I explain what the reward is for my clients. And then I am asking them, sort of expecting the answer that it should be, yes, my insurance agent has asked me for it, and I have given them a copy of it. But I'm sort of hoping that the insured is going to say, you know what? No, I've never actually given a copy of my injury and illness prevention program to my agent, and I don't think they've ever asked for it. And so once the insured decides that in their own mind, or they physically speak it when you're having that conversation, now they're starting to build a case in their own mind. I don't think my agent is doing a very good job for me. And you can bring this out in lots and lots of different ways. You can do it with X-mods. You can do it with property values in the event they ever have a claim. You can do it, what I would say, in kind of the renegotiation strategy with the quotes that are received. One of the things that I've sort of learned and gained over the course of time, having now worked as an insurance consultant with lots of business owners, is that they very often want to get other agents involved in the quoting process because we have sort of trained them that one agent equals one quote, because we typically only give them one quote. One quote in our proposal, we might highlight it. Many times we don't even show them a marketing summary. We just give them one quote. And so one agent, one quote. If I want multiple options, I have to have multiple agents. 2 agents, I probably get 2 quotes. 3 agents, I get at least 3 quotes. And so in their minds, that's how it has to be done. And that's strange because that's not really their best thing for them. But we have sort of conditioned them in the whole process that we only show up with one quote, and so if you want 2 quotes, you got to work with other agents. But then we have the sheer audacity to ask them, please don't get quotes from anybody else. Give us everything. Give us access to all the markets, your current carrier and all the other markets. And then we have the sheer audacity to show up with one quote. Shame on us, shame on you if that is you. Shame on you. So where I'm going with this next part is that with regards to the renegotiation, when you're meeting with them and you're trying to score the BOR, you're trying to get the signature on that beautiful piece of paper, you need to explain to them that you're going to have multiple options for them when you come back with your quote proposal. Not just one carrier, but multiple carriers. And you might even highlight them on your 12-month timeline of services on I'm going to access this carrier, this carrier, this carrier, this carrier, and so forth, so that to the insured, they're thinking, I'm going to have lots of options here. Now, you need to highlight that as you are explaining your superior service, what the reward is that it looks like, and then asking them when their current insurance agent showed up last time with a proposal, did it really only highlight one quote, or did it have lots of options for you? Again, breaking down piece by piece by piece by piece to help them see, is your agent really doing due diligence for you? Are they really doing a good job? If not, that's a problem. But one of the biggest things that I really feel is like sort of the anchor on it that sort of leans this process into your favor is that you have to explain to them the process of renegotiation. Might sound and look something like this. Bob, one of the things that we do when we go out to all of these different carriers on your behalf to get quotes, as you can see them, these are all the carriers we're going to be going to. We're going to come back with multiple options. I'm going to have them in my proposal, sort of like in a side-by-side comparison on an Excel spreadsheet, so you can see sort of the differences on each one, the rates, what they're excluding, what they're covering, all of that, the rating basis, everything. Then you and I can make a really good business decision on which one of these is offering the best policy for the lowest price possible. Now, let's say, for example, that you want to go, say, with quote C on my spreadsheet of all the quotes listed side by side. This is what I typically do then for my clients, because we know that most businesses in the United States of America are typically paying anywhere from 1 to around 10% more for that policy than they had to, than frankly they should have. It's just that nobody else went back to ask the underwriter for a requote. So we actually have a very unique renegotiation strategy that we have put together for painting contractors like yourself. Because we know the carriers who are writing it and so forth, we know the carrier's credit and debit structure, we understand what the underwriters are looking for, we know where there is room to bring down the quote even further. So after we go through the quotes with you, and you say, hey, I want to go ahead and probably bind coverage with carrier C, most agents at that point simply say, perfect. Here's the documents to sign. We're going to go ahead and bind coverage with C. Well, because we've been doing this so long and we understand painting subcontractors, we realize that this is now where kind of the fun begins. This is where we really start to show our value to you. So we're going to go to the underwriter at Carrier C, and we're going to let them know that they've done a really good job putting together this quote. We have other options on the table right now. The insurance buyer likes your quotes, but we feel that there's some of these other carriers are offering potentially better coverage and maybe even better rates on some of these other classes of business here. And so we are interested in what you have here, and the insured has decided they would actually like to bind coverage with you if you can do these 3 things that we have written here. So I'm going to go back to the underwriter, Bob, and I'm going to say we want to have potentially that endorsement thrown in for no additional premium. I'm going to ask them for something kind of big, potentially like, I want them to remove this exclusion altogether, or maybe remove this exclusion and instead insert it with a different exclusion that we feel provides better coverage for you. It still helps the carrier get what they want, but it actually provides better coverage for you. And then we're also probably going to ask for maybe about a 14% decrease in the rate. And I'm going to go back to the underwriter and ask for those three things. That endorsement thrown in for no additional premium. We're going to ask for an exchange on this exclusion. And then we're going to ask for the rate reduction of 14%. We typically, like some of the underwriters, will not be able to do for us the exclusion, and we know that. So we know that they're going to say no to that, which means that they're more likely to give us a yes on the decrease. They might not give us the full 14%. Maybe they can only give us 9%, or maybe they can give us 13%. But what's going to happen then is we're going to go back and renegotiate with the underwriters and have them let them know that they kind of have a fish on the hook here. We're thinking about binding coverage with you, and we would like to bind coverage with you if you can do these three things. And so the underwriter is going to go back and rework the numbers, rework the quote, give us a new quote at the reduced amount. And then once we have that, we can come back to you and say, now we have the quote that is likely going to be the lowest that insurance carrier can do. And it's at that time, then we bind coverage. See, we typically do this for our clients, Bob, and we're averaging around 11% on standard business and up to 17% with surplus lines carriers. That's what we do. Now, I don't know, maybe your current agent is doing this. We have a very unique process specifically for the carriers that do painting subcontractors like you, but maybe your agent has been doing this for you year after year after year. So I just have a question then, maybe we can kind of figure it out. When your agent showed up last year with the quotes and you decided that you wanted to bind coverage with, ABC insurance carrier that you're with right now, did they just go ahead and bind coverage, or did they go back to the carrier and try to renegotiate to drive down the cost for you even further? Which one did they do? See how I'm doing that, my friends? I'm not saying your agent's doing a bad job. I'm sort of assuming that the agent has done it or maybe should be doing it. But based upon the insured's reaction, how they answer it, they're basically going to be saying to themselves, no, my agent hasn't done that. In fact, I think they just showed up with the quote. I only had one option, and then we just bound coverage with it. Like, okay, then now what the insured is probably thinking in their mind is, I'm probably paying more for this policy right now than I should have. In fact, if Charles was my agent, I probably would be paying less for this policy right now. My agent's a bum. I think I need to have Charles as my insurance agent. My friends, this is the key. This is the key to success. This is how you actually are able to increase your hit ratio dramatically. But I'm telling you, you need to be micro-niched. You need to be able to uncover certain problems. You need to be able to put your thumb into the problem so that the insured feels the pain. You need to ask open-ended questions that really drive to a certain problem in particular, and understand the problems based upon what typical insurance producers have to deal with and how the process works. Find those gaps, find those holes, find those problems, and then just really jump on them. Show your superior service first, how you handle that particular problem, and what your clients experience as a reward from it. And then gently ask when their current agent did it, what was the result their agent was able to do for them? With the assumption that their agent is doing it or should be doing it, and you're hoping to find out that their agent has not been doing it at all. That's a beautiful thing. And it's a whole lot easier to ask for a signed broker of record letter and exclusivity to represent them in the marketplace when you have uncovered enough pain points where the insured now realizes, I think my agent's a bum, and I think I need to have Charles as my insurance agent. Sure is a lot easier to win business that way. And frankly, it's more fun, it's more ethical, and it works out after all said and done. Now, lastly, on my last podcast episode, I mentioned about the few insurance agencies that I'm going to be bringing on into my network to be able to pass along these construction referrals of the current clients that I'm working with in my consulting company so that they can simply take over the insurance, take over these clients, and write the insurance for them, make the commission. Again, as I said before, I'm not working with the larger alphabet houses. I'm working with small and medium-sized companies, agencies. I typically want to work with the leadership at the agency. You can't just bring your producers over here. I'm not doing it that way. If you want to be part of, and I'm doing it with 12 agencies. I'm not doing it with 13. I'm doing it with 12 agencies. If you want to be part of my 12 agency little commission network. I'm sort of referring to this as a commission network. If you want to be a part of my commission network, where I bring in my consulting companies and I just have you take them over and we kind of work through the process, get it bound for you so that you get a new client. If you want to do that, reach out to me. Email me at charles@permissiongroup.com, charles@permissiongroup.com. DM me on LinkedIn if we're connected there. Let me know that you're interested. We will schedule a little conversation. I'm going to have you sign a disclosure so that you don't go and tell people about how this whole thing is working. But I want to explain to you how it's working. I want to explain to you how you can make a lot of money from this. I want to explain to you how the process is going to work, because it's been something I've been thinking about and preparing now for about 2 years, and now it's ready to do it. The other only thing to think about in regards to this one is that I'm only opening it to 12 agencies, and I'm first started with California. So if you are either in California or you write business in California, this is available to you right now. I'm going to open it up to other states a little bit later, but we're only doing it up to 12 agencies total in California. And if that is you, then reach out to me, charles@permissiongroup.com. I want to thank you for listening today. I think we've talked about some things that are probably very important to helping you win some business after all said and done. Ethical, wise, strategic. That's the process on how you actually win more clients. My name is Charles Specht. I'm the president and CEO of Permission Network Insurance Agency, where I teach and train insurance agents just like you how to build a $1 million or more book of business through signed broker of record letters. This is the Millionaire Insurance Producer Podcast.